We will edit out a bit in post-process, I think. I don't know how to talk into a camera. I can't talk to women either. Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna try recording with this NVIDIA broadcasting, which is an AI thing that it's supposed to retain eye contact with the camera, regardless if I'm looking directly into it or not. Right now I'm looking at my main monitor. My camera is on my second monitor. I'm still looking at my main monitor at myself right now. I'm not looking at the camera. I think this AI seems pretty good. It's kind of creepy because the eye contact is very intense, very suggestive, I think. Hello everyone, my name is Kurre. I'm an aspiring gameplay and level designer. I'm gonna talk about some progress I've done on a prototype game that I've done with one of my friends from school. His name is Simon XD. He streams on Twitch. I can plug him in the description because that's what collaborators do. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about some things that I've been doing on our project. I'm working a bit with the camera, and it's been really fun. I think it's a very underrated aspect in games. It's not really talked about, I think. Not even at the design school I'm at right now. We had one course in 3C, which is camera, character, controller. Fuck. Anyways, I think camera is it's very underrated. Not very talked about. What I want to talk about in this devlog is how I learned more about camera movement and what it can bring to a game. And when I say camera movement, I mean things like head bobbing, or when you land, the camera kind of shakes around, and when it jumps, or when you jump, you kinda... The camera kind of goes up a bit, right? Like, you probably notice it if you play a game. I think Battlefield does that very, very good with camera movement, overall. Especially when you jump, it's very noticeable, and you can see like how the gun kind of goes up and down when you land, right? I look very fucking weird doing this on camera. I was sitting with a bunch of movement numbers all morning, such as acceleration, max speed, gravity, etc. Like all the nerdy fucking all the nerdy numbers that I enjoy working with. I think the movement, like all the numbers, felt very good. It was a good middle ground, I believe, for the game, for how I wanted it to feel. But something still felt off, and I decided to look into some other games and how they make it feel, right, if that makes sense. Like what do other games do with good movement that I felt was lacking, because I still think the movement was good, like all the move speed, the gravity, like everything. It felt nice to play, but something was still very off. I was looking at other games to see what they did with their camera. And again, I looked at Battlefield, I looked at Minecraft, and I looked at Ghost Runner. Ghost Runner is the game that's behind me right now. So Battlefield is the game behind me now. And you can maybe notice how the gun like bobs up and down a lot, and the camera like bobs up and down a lot. I think you may not notice it when you play. I sure as hell didn't before, but you can. You get really immersed in it, I believe. Why is the lighting so weird on my camera? Okay, we're gonna roll with this. It's not a production studio. I live in a poor student apartment. I can't afford lights and shit. But anyways, as you may see, like the camera bobs around a lot, or the gun more so, and it really like helps you immerse you with the as the soldier you're playing, right? Not saying Battlefield is the most immersive game of all time, you know, it's not an immersive sim or anything like that, but you know, it still helps you sell the illusion. I think it doesn't take you out of it, right? Like if it wasn't there, if you didn't have a gun, if it just was like completely stiff, I think you would notice it. If you didn't move at all, I think you'll notice it. So that's why I do think it's important, and that's why I do enjoy talking about it. But yeah, Battlefield does it quite well with the head bobbing and all that stuff. Minecraft is very it has very intense bobs, if that makes sense. It's intense but it's low frequency. I would say Battlefield is a very good middle ground. Ghost Runner more so is very in Ghost Runner it's very high frequency but like low bobs, so you can sell the illusion that you move pretty fast, right? If that makes sense. Like if you know, you can put up Ghost Runner again for this very example. I'm enjoying this program way too much. Okay, let's put up Ghost Runner. Okay, I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can see like he goes around very fast. Yeah, he goes around very fast with his sword. So again, you get the illusion again of that you move pretty fast, right? And it helps you sell the experience, so to say. And again, if it were just completely stiff and it didn't have it, you would probably notice it because it would feel very off. And that's how I felt in my prototype that morning. So that's what I did. I made some simple animations for it. When you walk, there's some head bobbing. You move quite fast, so I would say it's more in the Ghost Runner like area. Just some bobbing when you wall run, and when you jump, and when you land. And then also my favorite part, you get a different animation depending on how hard you hit the ground. So that's pretty cool, I think. Yeah, I did some programming, Mom. Are you proud now? But yeah, so again, kind of what is my point? I wouldn't say it's necessarily about adding to the experience, but I would say it's more about creating a vibe and giving good feedback that the player is actually moving. Because I think as much feedback as possible is pretty good. Just like in general, it's, again, if you play a game and you don't have the feedback that you hit someone with a sword, for example, or you don't get a sound when you shoot a gun, or you don't, like, your screen doesn't get red when you get shot, or your health bar doesn't go down, you know, that just having feedback for all the mechanics you have, I think is pretty important, so the player doesn't feel confused, right? I think it's quite important, and the same goes for walking. If you were to slide, it would be a bit weird, I think. I love the eye contact AI, by the way. I'm looking at this direction right now. Yeah, this is what I'm looking at. It's too creepy. I might turn it off. No, we'll keep it on. It's funny. It's funny when it's creepy. What was I gonna say? Am I looking into all of this too much? Yeah, probably. But I still enjoy talking about mechanics and features in games that aren't always brought up. Because I feel like the cameras are like it's kind of like an unsung hero, right? Like, they matter a lot in games, and we shouldn't disregard them. So again, if it were to be removed, you would notice it quite a bit, I think. Not that devs usually forget it, but I'm just saying, like, pointing out the importance it has. But now, let's get to the fun, interesting part of the video, maybe why you clicked. It's wall running. You know it, you probably love it, unless you're one of those pesky card game nerds that of course hate fun. Sorry, Marcus and Matthias. You know I'm right. Wall running has been done a bazillion times, but personally I can't grow tired of it. It's one of my favorite mechanics in gaming. But I think it feels so unique and has very different gameplay purposes in every big title that it's featured in. Those that come to mind for me when I think about wall running are Mirror's Edge, Ghost Runner, and Titanfall. I think the one most people are familiar with is probably Titanfall or Mirror's Edge. But I will go over them all real quick, just in case, and cover what they all do differently and what they excel at. Mirror's Edge is my personal favorite for how well implemented the wall running is, along with other mechanics in the game. In Mirror's Edge you play as a runner, a person who carries out missions and delivers messages, kind of on the down low, as the kids say. Your tools as a runner are how well you can improvise and utilize your parkour skills. You got everything from vaulting to climbing, wall ejecting, and then naturally wall running. That kind of goes along with wall ejecting, I think. But the wall running in Mirror's Edge is just one of your many tools that you have as a runner. But I think it's also the most satisfying one out of what you have in your arsenal, so to speak. It is not used as a means of acquiring a lot of speed, but rather to preserve momentum when you run and keep going on your path. It isn't something necessarily that's like insanely powerful and you would use all the time. It has its time and place like the rest of the mechanics, and that's what I like about it. You don't become overly reliant on it, and it's just one of your many tools to get around the world, basically. That's my take on Mirror's Edge, at least. I like it a lot. Let's get some Titanfall gameplay, because we're gonna talk about Titanfall. The production value is off the charts today, ladies and gentlemen. Titanfall is kind of the direct opposite to Mirror's Edge, I think. It is still, of course, a tool you use to get around the map, but it's kind of 80% of what you use to do, in fact, get around the map. And then like the other 10% is grappling, 10% is like sliding. Don't get me wrong, I still love Titanfall's wall running, and how insanely fast you can go with it. It's pretty cracked how fast you can be with Titanfall's wall running. Wall running in that game, of course, works better than it does for Mirror's Edge, because, you know, they're two different games. One is a first-person shooter, like arena vibe thing. One is a single-player, kinda open world. It's not open world, but you know what I mean. It's like open level design. It's open level design, right? You're meant to get around you know, it's still fairly grounded in reality. You don't have these crazy mech suits and crazy futuristic guns. You still have like your basic MP5s and M9 handguns and simple shotguns. And okay, my camera got stroke, so we're gonna restart. I don't know where it was. But yeah, Mirror's Edge is a bit more grounded. It makes sense that it's a bit more of a grounded wall running, right? So you have like very normal gravity in Mirror's Edge, right? As opposed to like Titanfall or other wall running games. It's you kind of float, right? But you kind of get the explanation that you have thruster packs, so you kind of use them to wall run with, right? So you can kind of keep yourself in the air and get the momentum for running on the wall, because that makes sense. It doesn't have to make sense if it's a video game still, but you know. You spend a lot more time on walls in Titanfall, that's how you get around. Maybe not so much in this gameplay right now, because I'm kind of just running around on the floor. That's how it be sometimes. Okay, good.
På tal om.
Jag är så mycket bättre!
Michael Jackson.
Where was I? Yeah. You spend a lot more time on walls in Titanfall, because again, that's kind of how you get around and how you get the speed in the game. But you kind of see why I compared the two, right? Now we can appreciate both, even though they're drastically different in how their wall running is what's the word? No, not applicated. Implemented, yeah, how they're implemented, right? English. But they serve very different purposes, and they have different in-game applications, but they are the same mechanic on paper. But just looking at the two games again, you can see how much longer the average wall run is in Titanfall compared to Mirror's Edge. But I feel like it's also kind of has to be, right? I mean, it's a shooter, you still want to be able to shoot and be somewhat accurate. Wall running and shooting in Titanfall can be difficult as it is. But if we had the short burst style of wall runs like in Mirror's Edge, it would kind of make the barrier of entry a lot higher, I think. And levels would have to look drastically different if you had like the wall running gravity that Mirror's Edge has. Because of how fast you fall off the wall. But yeah, it's two different styles of wall running in two very different games. Again, I just like to compare it and see how the style of game changes how you kind of have to implement your wall running, right? If that makes any sense. So in a game like Titanfall, which is a fast-paced multiplayer shooter, you might want to have the faster wall running that gives you a lot of speed, and also have it low gravity, so you can still be shot relatively easily if you do it. It's made to complement the levels of Titanfall with the speed you have again, but it's also balanced around the fact you can actually still be shot and you don't have to jump around so much like a fucking banana fly or whatever flies and jumps a lot like frogs. You're not a fast frog on the wall, you're a futuristic soldier with a jetpack on your back, and you can do cool shit. Oh fuck, I got monster. That's my piece on Titanfall and Mirror's Edge. Real quickly, we just want to touch on Ghost Runner. Ghost Runner shit again. Yeah. So Ghost Runner also technically has wall running. Although when I looked at the footage for this video, I realized how little time you actually spend on the walls themselves. Even less so than Mirror's Edge, in fact. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's more that Ghost Runner has so many movement abilities and even teleport abilities that you only really use it to gain more speed or extra airtime due to the extra jump you gain from connecting with the wall. I think I misremembered how much time I spent wall running in that game. The small amount of time you get to do it, it still feels good. And honestly, I don't think I'd change anything about Ghost Runner. It is one of my favorite movement titles. Only downside is that the game was pretty fucking short. Okay, so now that I've covered these movement-based titles, can you guess what main inspiration for my project is? Or what type of game I would like to make? Honestly, it's not a movement-based game. Sure, when you add wall running into the mix, it kind of becomes a movement game, no? So yeah, I mean, kind of, maybe I do want to make a movement-based game, but that could be plucked out down the road, I believe. But I would prefer to just have a good game that also happens to have really good movement. In Titanfall, as an example, I never get bored looking for enemies, because the movement is so damn good and it feels good just getting around the map, right? CSGO also has really good movement. Once you start going in depth and learning more about the game as a whole, you can see that there is a lot more to the movement than what meets the eye initially. Well, I mean, there's a reason why Surf was so popular, as well as the KZ servers. I don't know what KZ stands for, but it's like Minecraft parkour, but in CS. But yeah, like, the game has an inherently good movement system, and that's why these game modes get their own servers to play on, center around it. Even though CSGO in its heart is a competitive shooter, but again, I would like to give credit to the Source engine. The movement is really good because of the Source engine, and that's why you can have all these wacky things with it, right? Even though in its heart it's just a competitive shooter. But yeah, that's just my say on the matter. I hope to share more in the future on this project that I'm working on, or any other project at all, I suppose. So yeah, take care, and hope to see you again soon. Have a good one. But before I leave, I wanted to show a quick run through of what the game currently looks like. Again, it's very early stage, you know, it's only grey boxing and the wall running mechanic. Gonna add a vaulting and climbing system soon, very much also much akin to Titanfall and Mirror's Edge. Again, necessarily doesn't have to be a movement game. I just wanna make a good game that has good movement, because good movement makes more fun games, and I like to play fun games and make fun games. So that's it. It's been Kurre. Until next time, have a good one.
I can hear the sound of a heartbeat before it goes out. Won't ever leave my memory of bloodshed all around. I can see a tear on my father's face before it falls out. Oh, my enemy, how could I have ever let you down? When all these traits saw us grow, cut our teeth and break our bones.